Welcome back to another episode of That's Disturbing. We're on episode number 7. There you go. Only 3 more times that we're going to do it. And then we're not going to stop counting. So we get to like 50 and then 100.
Yeah, right.
But not everything in between.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant we're going to count everything in between. I was like, heck yeah, I get to sing it every time.
Nope. 10 was the dealio.
Okay.
All right.
It's a deal, I suppose.
Right. Okay. I'm Gail.
I'm Daphne, and we're That's Disturbing.
We are.
You sang it again.
Real disturbing.
You did it again. You sang your name.
Oh, I can't help it. Apparently it's joyful.
It is. It's very joyful. It's a joyous name.
It is. Okay, cool.
Yeah. All right. It is. Okay, cool. Yeah, okay. You're so welcome.
Alrighty then.
Yeah, so my mom's rude, as you guys know, because she just stops me every time I say something that's wrong, even though I'm saying something wrong. Like, it's cool, but, like, make it consistent, Mom. Because in the last episode, I found out that the word salve is not pronounced as such, that it's changed in the last day.
It has
that it's pronounced as salve, not salve. That's okay, because then it makes me think of Sav Bindari from Degrassi, and then it just fills my brain with joy.
I like how your eyes are all moony.
When I say Sav.
You're all,
Yeah, because he's beautiful.
Okay.
All right. So this episode, we're both still working on our own independent cases that we like to bring to each other. So for this one, we decided that we wanted to do some Reddit stories. So we have permission from all of these Reddit authors and sharing their stories, and it's going to be great. And mine is a banger. My mom has 2. I have 1. And it's hilarious and disturbing, mine is. You go, what the fuck? And it's awesome. But let's get into our disturbing facts. Since we're both doing a story this time, we're both going to read a fact.
Well, I feel like since I'm doing 2 and you're only doing 1, that you should do the disturbing fact. Because I thought you were doing 2.
Oh, so now we're changing it. All right, I'm the only one with the disturbing fact.
Yep.
Sorry, y'all. You're only going to hear 1 fact today.
Aw, darn it. I'll save mine for next time.
Okay, are you ready?
Ready.
A haunted radio station from Russia has been broadcasting a dull, monotonous tone for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the last 3.5 decades. Every few seconds, it's joined in by a second sound that's like a ghostly ship in its foghorn.
Okay, so did they have advertisers to keep it going?
No, it's just a freaking radio station.
Well, but how do they pay to keep it on the air?
I don't know.
Well, Daphne.
Isn't that weird, though?
It is. It's very weird.
It's probably just like, you know how you don't have to pay to radio somebody, like from your car? Or not, I guess a car is a bad example because they lost radios a long time ago. But you know how police radio each other and whomever radios each other?
Yes.
Probably just like that.
Okay.
Just a radio station.
Thanks for sharing your disturbing fact, Daph. I appreciate it. And I had heard that before, and so I don't know why I went into advertising, but
That's okay.
As you know, we're all aware, I'm not a night person, and it's nighttime again.
Well, you know, I did just read a book called 20 Ads That Shook the World from my history of advertising class, and one of the chapters was about radio. Like, radios were invented for colleges, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, well, the first primary purpose of a radio was during World War I on ships, so they'd have a means to communicate with each other.
Mm-hmm.
But then they brought them to colleges after the fact, and then colleges weren't really impressed and amused by them. And so the first radio spot advertisement was from the Queensboro Corporation. And why are you laughing?
I'm
bringing some education in here. It was from the Queensboro Corporation. And what the guy did, what the narrator did in his 15-minute radio spot was he was selling basically suburbia to a bunch of families in like I'm trying to remember, like I think it was the 30s, the late 20s, early 30s.
Right.
And so
post-World War I.
Post-World War I, yes, because
Gotcha.
then it was readily accessible to people after World War I and they didn't need them for ships anymore.
Right.
But yeah, pretty cool that it was basically used for advertisements since then.
Right. That is cool. Thanks for the lesson.
You're so welcome. I definitely enjoyed that class and that book.
Good. I'm glad. I bet your teacher would love to hear that.
Oh, I think he already knows. It's my favorite class.
Okay, well, on to the first Reddit story. And my first one is by user Bowler Beautiful 5804. I thought this story was great, and so I asked for permission. So here we go. It's entitled, I Lived in a Haunted House. When I was a kid, I lived in a haunted house. I'll preface this by saying I'm generally a very rational person, and I'm a skeptic by nature. I didn't grow up in a family that was religious or into the supernatural, and if I hadn't experienced these things myself, there's no doubt in my mind that I wouldn't believe in it today. Reading out loud is hard.
It is.
Okay, I'm going to keep going.
You should.
Alrighty.
I'm already intrigued.
Okay, our house was built in 1912. On the outside, it seemed like a totally normal house. The moment I stepped inside the house, I felt uneasy and couldn't explain why. I hate that feeling when you step in somewhere and like right away you get that bad feeling.
I do too. I don't like that feeling.
I don't either. So, my sister and I shared a room upstairs. I was sitting on my bed in my room one day, facing the doorway. It was one of those accordion doors that would click closed when there was a space of about 2 feet at the bottom where it didn't reach the floor. It was only my mom and I home at the time, and she was downstairs. I heard the floor creak outside my door in the hallway as though someone was walking into my room. Then I saw a white mist figure pass my door. Right? At first, I thought it was my mom bringing laundry upstairs, and I waited for her feet to appear under the door, but they didn't. I went and... Right? They didn't. I went and peeked under my door to see who was in the hallway, and there was nobody there. Ooh, I have chills, like, just reading that.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Right? I hate stuff like that. Yet, here we are.
I know. I constantly, every single time I'm coming upstairs from the basement, I look for Franny's little feet under the door, and they're never there.
Aw.
Franny is our puppy.
Aw. Aw. I can say Franny, and she's so cute. Okay. Back to the story.
Yes, spooky, not cute.
Yeah, exactly. There was no wind and no way it could have been a curtain blowing. I definitely saw something pass by my door. Another day I was in my room alone again. My family was downstairs in the kitchen at the time. There was a wardrobe by the door that had a lamp on top of it. I was just sitting on my bed again, and all of a sudden the lamp started to violently rock back and forth. It scared the shit out of me. So I immediately ran downstairs, and my family could see I was scared and asked me what was wrong. I told them what happened, and they all looked at each other. I discovered later they tried to protect me from knowing any of the paranormal experiences that had happened there. Well, I guess that's what good parents do.
Right.
They tell you you're just imagining things.
Yeah. There's nothing there.
Right?
It's just a ghost.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. Must be nice to have good parents.
Hey.
I have a story after this story.
Okay. Another day, my sister and I were in the living room. It was summer, and we had one of those window air conditioners in the kitchen window. My dad just finished building a detached garage outside and had turned the breaker off so that he could finish wiring the electrical to the garage. There was no electricity in the house at all. We were just sitting there, and all of a sudden we hear the air conditioner turn on. Whoa. I don't like that.
I don't either.
Right? That's
Freaks
weird.
me out.
Yeah, that's weird. My sister and I looked at each other and ran outside. My parents asked us what was wrong, and we told them how the air conditioner turned on by itself. My dad said, that's impossible because there's no electricity going to the house. We had no explanation for how it turned on. Another day, I was in my room, and we had one of those big fans that sat on top of the floor. My sister would always yell at me. Oh, it sat on the floor. It didn't sit on top of the floor. I'm sorry. My sister would always yell at me for leaving it on when I wasn't in the room. On this day, it was really hot, so I purposely left the fan on. I went downstairs to have a shower. Only my mom and sister were home at the time. I came back up to my room and the fan was switched off. I immediately felt uneasy because I knew I had left it on. I asked my mom and sister if they had gone upstairs while I was in the shower, but they hadn't. No explanation for how it turned off.
Yikes.
Right? When I would go to sleep at night and the lights were out, I would see what I now know were probably orbs. But at the time, I had no idea what it was. It was like static electricity in the air. I don't know how to explain it. The closest thing I've ever seen to it are sparklers. It used to scare the shit out of me, and I would run to my mom's room to tell her, and she would say, "Oh, it's just your eyes playing tricks on you. Don't pay attention to it." I would go back to bed and hide my head under the covers. Yeah. I feel like, yeah.
Yeah, I would too, if you're seeing that.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
If it's close to sparklers and you're just seeing it.
That's a lot of electricity. A lot of electromagnetic
energy.
Exactly.
That's a lot happening.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, these stories just keep going of all the things that she experienced in the house. So, anyway, there was a spirit that would stand in the corner of my room and watch us constantly. Whoa. That gave me chills.
Yeah, that gave me chills up my spine. I don't like that.
Same.
I don't like that for you, user.
User beautiful, Bowler beautiful 5804.
Yes, I don't like that for her.
After we moved out, I told my mom one day that our new house felt so much happier than our old one. She asked me what I meant. I told her how our old house had such a heavy atmosphere and felt totally different, and I always felt like I was being watched. I asked her if it was haunted, and she finally admitted that it had been, and they had tried to protect me from it because I was the youngest. I described 2 of the ghosts to her. The female was always in the corner of my room, and the male spirit stayed in my brother's room. I described the time period that they were from and how they were dressed. That the woman was in a long dark dress, and the man sat on the floor in my brother's room and looked out the window. No idea how I knew these things, and turned out I was pretty close, except for the woman wore a black veil that hid her face, and the man actually had no legs.
Ooh.
Which is why I thought he was sitting all the time.
Yeah.
Right?
Ugh.
Okay, so while we lived there, I had this reoccurring dream that I saw a little girl in a white nightgown cowering in the hallway outside my bedroom and crying because the house was on fire. I was constantly paranoid about fires while living in that house and would constantly check the electrical outlets throughout the house to be sure everything was okay. After we moved, I worked at our local library, and there were tons of resources about the history of the town. Turns out, before our old house was built at this location, there was a hotel that used to stand there in the late 1800s that had burned to the ground, killing several people.
Ugh.
Right? My dad was the only one...
That's like the worst case scenario, too.
Right? To build
where several people had died, and it's not like it was like a hospital or something, right? Where people go.
Right.
A brutal, tragic, horrific death by fire.
Yeah, that would be horrible. That's one of the worst ways I would think to die.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I would think that would be... I don't want that or wish that on anyone.
Me neither.
My dad was the only one who didn't have experiences while we lived there. My mom had the most experiences, and I think at first he started to think she was losing her mind. It wasn't until my siblings and I started to tell him about our experiences, and specifically me with the lamp incident in my room, that he started to think something was wrong with the house. My brother worked late nights and would get home around midnight. He would walk through the dark house to get to his room and would often hear someone calling his name. He thought it was our mom and would go to her room to see what she wanted, only to find her asleep. Eventually, he would rarely sleep there. He would sleep at his friends' or girlfriends' houses instead.
Ugh.
Yeah, right? Somebody calling your name in the middle of the night and everyone's asleep.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. No.
Not having it.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of, like, I don't know. It just reminds me of bad.
Bad?
It reminds me of a bad thing that I wouldn't want to happen. My sister and I shared a room. We had a female ghost dressed in a black veil who would stand and watch us in the corner of our room. One night, my sister woke up to find someone sitting beside her on the bed holding her hand. Ooh. She thought it was me and asked what I was doing. No answer. She looked over at my bed, and I was there, sound asleep. She looked back, and the figure was gone. Oh, chills. See, I have chills again.
So what that ghost reminds me of is the woman from, the woman in black. The one with Daniel Radcliffe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. With
Okay.
Harry Potter.
Yes, I know who Daniel Radcliffe is. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just had to make sure that's who he was.
Yes, that's who
with
it
Harry
is.
Potter.
Uh-huh. So, to this day, she sleeps with her head under the covers and her arms tucked under her.
Yeah, I don't blame her.
Yeah,
I
don't
would
blame her
too.
either. My mom had multiple experiences. I'm not even aware of all of them, and honestly, I don't want to know. I knew she said there were at least 5 spirits in the house, plus others that would pass through. In our basement, we had an old cold room, and this was apparently where there was a spirit portal, where the spirit portal was located in our house. Not sure why it was there or how it got there, but I think the previous residents had dabbled in things they shouldn't have. As I said previously, there was a hotel that had burned down at this location, killing several people. I think previous residents could sense the presence of these spirits and had dabbled with Ouija boards or seances to contact spirits and ended up inviting in dark entities. Just a theory, but I believe the people who lived there before us made the situation worse.
Yeah, I'd probably say so if that's what they're doing.
Yeah. And again, apologies. Reading out loud is really hard.
No, I get
Plus,
it.
I'm reading off my iPad and there's like a weird glare, so I'm also going to blame it on that. My mom is very sensitive to spirits, and I had experiences with all of them. I think. The woman in black was a protective spirit and would communicate with my mom quite a bit. I believe that the spirit protected me from all the other spirits also. My mom was walking down to the basement one day and lost her footing and started to fall. Suddenly she felt hands on her chest and pushed her back to an upright position. She never saw anyone. She just felt them catch her as she fell.
Oh my gosh, that's actually really endearing.
Right? That's super nice.
The lady that was holding her sister's hand is the same one that's like protecting her mom and
I would
being
think
protective.
So. I would think so.
That's so sweet.
Well, and you would think to make sure that she's protecting her children. Because if the mom dies, then that's bad for the kids.
I think she's just a protective spirit in general.
Yes, that's fair.
Because it sounds like, there's some darkness around that place.
For sure. We had so many issues with phantom calls in that house. This is before cell phones, so we only had a landline. The phone would ring constantly and nobody would be on the line, or we would hear static as though there was a muffled voice on the line, but we couldn't make out what they were saying. I don't know how many times we had the phone company come back to check it out only to find nothing wrong. Then it escalated.
Jeez.
My dad would get up to leave for work in the middle of the night, and just after he would leave, we would get a call from where a person would say, "I just saw blank leave for work." This freaked my mom right out. So the police became involved to try to trace where these calls were coming from. We had to keep track of them, the time the calls came in, and what they said, if anything. They were never able to trace the calls.
Jeez.
Yeah, right?
Well, it's a ghost, obviously. That's why.
Right? Yeah, I don't think you can trace.
Right, it's just calls. Picking up the other line in the house.
I don't know. Or maybe calling from an outside line because it's a ghost. It can call from anywhere. I don't know.
I don't think it's calling from any. How would it know if the husband's leaving if they're an outside of the house ghost?
Oh yeah, that's fair.
I think, like the old-timey phones that have like the hook and are attached to the wall with like the
cord. A landline?
Yeah, landlines.
An old-timey phone.
But with like the spiral cord on them.
Yeah, it's a phone.
Yeah, anyway, like there's probably several of them around the house, right?
Pre-cordless phones.
There's probably several of them around the house, right?
Sure.
So just pick it up, and then I know when you pick up another one, you can hear or talk.
Yes, because you're all on the same line.
So that's probably what's happening.
Okay, but when you do that, it doesn't ring.
Oh.
Unless they made it ring and then they got on the phone. I don't know, it's a ghost. They can probably do anything they want.
That's fair.
Okay, anyway, back to the story. We moved shortly after and had the same phone number. The calls stopped as soon as we moved out, and we've never had issues again. Before we moved, my mom was really worried that they would follow us. The woman in black was very religious, and my mom had an old Bible beside her bed. One morning, she woke up to find the Bible open on her nightstand, and these words highlighted, "And this house will be my home forever."
Wow.
Thankfully, they didn't follow us. I'm very sensitive to spirits and have had other experiences throughout my life, but that will be for another day. I hated the house and I was so happy to move. I'm grateful for the experience though, because now I know our spirits do continue after death in just in a different way. So anyway, thank you again for letting me read your story. I loved it
awesome.
when I read it, right?
That was great.
Thank you, user Buller Beautiful 5804.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yes, me too.
That was great. I really enjoyed that one.
Me too.
I liked listening to it. I didn't necessarily like the shivers down my spine, but that's what makes it good.
Right.
And also the protective ghost is what makes it good.
Well, when I was a kid, I lived in a haunted house, but it wasn't super haunted, but we just had a handful of random things happen. So that's why this one was kind of I don't know.
It felt near and dear to your heart.
It felt near and dear to my heart. And so one of the most prominent things that I can remember happening, and it reminded me from this story, is that one of my best friends and we were having a sleepover and someone tucked us in.
I remember you telling me that story.
And we both, neither one of us said anything that at night, but the next morning we were both did you get tucked in?
Did you?
Yeah, and we both got tucked in. So it was nice, I guess, but it was kind of scary. And I, again, remember just not wanting to move or...
See, I wonder to some extent, at some point you have to know you're dead, right? I feel like that's normal, that you should know that you're dead at some point when you're a ghost.
I don't know, because they say some ghosts get caught in a time loop.
But that's how I feel probably your ghost was like caught in a time loop, and maybe this woman in black is also caught in a time loop of just who knows, like maybe she thinks she's like the I don't want to say housekeeper, like a nanny or somebody.
The keeper of the house.
Yeah, the keeper of the house. There you go.
Right.
That's what I'm looking for. Like somebody who's protective over this family.
Yeah.
But is like in their physical presence, but not really, because she's not really there with them at all times. Like she's not a person that you would just go be like, hey, what's up, lady in black?
Right.
You know?
Just, there but not there, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Let me return to my story about bad parent.
Wait, I feel like that's for another day because you still have a story to read and I still have another story to read and we're already into 20 minutes.
But this is great about my parents being horrible to me.
Whatever.
They're
Poor
not
Daphne.
actually horrible to me. But my mom always said, what's the point of having kids if you can't fuck with them? So here we go, and I'm the only one. I feel like if you're listening to this podcast, you may or may not be familiar with the show Supernatural, which doesn't help if I'm saying you may or may not be. But an episode in the show, there's a girl living in the walls. She's not actually supernatural. She is a girl living in the walls, eating rats, and turns out she has like a brother, and like it's just this whole fucked up story, and it's really scary. And I'm like 8 watching this with my parents because that's what my parents watch, so it's what I watched. And then they told me she's in our basement. And there's like a giant crawl space in our basement, like a good half the size of our house is in this crawl space. And so it's really scary, and I hate our basement, and I'm scarred for life.
Sorry.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah, the protective parents. Nope, my parents were like, that'll teach you to leave the lights on in the basement. I'm like, what the fuck do you mean? I'm gonna leave the lights on in the basement. Any second, this girl could crawl up behind me.
Still to this day, every time. Daphne, you left the lights on in the basement. Now I know why.
Well, yeah, of course.
Okay.
Scarred for life.
All right. Well, okay.
All right, my turn, my story.
Your turn, your story.
Okay, let's go. This is from user Sugar-soad, and it's titled, My brother is obsessed with my fiance, and now he's gone too far. I was together with my fiance Lisa for almost 10 years and had been childhood sweethearts. Our relationship looked perfect from the outside, and everyone constantly pointed out how happy we always looked. The only drawback to our relationship was my brother Denny's unhealthy obsession with Lisa. He would stare at her the whole time she was there. He oftentimes hid in the closet so he could try and watch us having sex.
Oh my god, that's super fucked up.
Yeah, super weird, right?
It's straight up fucked up.
Disturbing as fuck.
Yeah, that's bad.
For all parties.
Yeah. What the hell?
So Lisa was patient with him, and she never let him know how much he actually creeped her out.
Well, that was super nice of her.
Yeah, right?
A straight up throat punch that kid.
Yeah, me too.
That's bad.
Yeah.
I feel
slam his face in the closet.
I feel traumatized just hearing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So fucked up.
It's disturbing, that's for sure.
Yes, it is.
So I considered confronting him on his behavior, but didn't want to cause a fight in my family. My family
Really?
had told me numerous times that I was standing in the way of true love, as they thought Lisa and Denny were perfect for each other.
Oh, God.
I know.
Because he's a sex stalker?
Because he's a weirdo? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I told Lisa this, but she laughed at the absurdity of this.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, right? She's like, I'm with you.
Right? And yeah, I want to be with somebody who watches from the closet while we have sex. That's my dream, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ugh.
So I remember the looks of shock on my family's faces when I told them my engagement with Lisa was over. And then he bursted out crying and ran off upstairs while my entire family ran after to comfort him.
Oh.
I know. I stood there silently with tears streaming down my face, thinking of how much I had just lost in a matter of hours.
Right?
Yeah, right? Like, me and my fiance are done, and you're gonna comfort my brother who's in love with her, you freaks.
Right? That's so sad.
Yeah, isn't that terrible?
Yeah, I feel bad.
Good parents, good family.
I feel bad.
I do too. It's sad.
Aw.
So the next few months were horrible for me, as my family didn't once ask how I was feeling, and they spent their entire time consoling Denny. Sorry.
Aw, that's Okay, just keep reading because it's going to be messed up no matter what.
Yeah, you just wait. Eventually something changed, and Denny was much happier and kept giving me weird smiles whenever he saw me. I arrived home one day and was heading upstairs when I heard unusual noises coming from Denny's room. I crept closer and almost fainted at what I had witnessed inside. Denny stood over Lisa and was having rough sex with her. I pushed the door open and began screaming at him while he stood there sheepishly. My family must have heard my screams as they came pounding up the stairs. I could see the look of happiness on their faces when they saw Denny and Lisa together.
Are you kidding?
They started scolding me and pointing out that me and Lisa were technically no longer a couple. My mother pointed out that Denny must really love Lisa if he was willing to go dig up her body.
Oh! Shit! What the fuck?
I told you.
God.
I stood there dumbfounded as my family watched Denny resume having sex with Lisa's rotting corpse.
Oh my god.
Disturbing as fuck.
Yeah, that can't be real.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, it's just a great story.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it made me jaw drop.
Yeah, I'd go, oh my god!
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah, that's a good one, huh?
It was a good one.
I told you.
I thought it was going to be like a blow-up doll or something. I didn't think it was going to be a rotting corpse.
I told you.
Ugh.
Well, that's like, so I guess I could give my like backstory to how I heard this story. Was I found it on TikTok. And then I'm listening to it, and then I also went, what the fuck? And I had to listen to it over again. Because I'm like, he never said anything about her dying. He never said that. He said our engagement had ended, and I couldn't believe how much I had lost today.
Well, yeah.
But, like, that's not just the engagement. It was
Her life ended.
Her life ended.
But the story wouldn't have been able to unfold that way if she wouldn't have died.
Yeah, exactly. And then I couldn't find it either when I looked it up on TikTok. I could not find it for the life of, on Reddit. I couldn't find it. Like, I typed in the username and all this stuff, and I couldn't find it, and I still can't find it, but I found the user, and so I had to message the user, obviously, you know.
Get permission.
Get the permission, yeah, exactly, to use the story. He said, absolutely, thank you for contacting me.
And what was his name again?
Sugar_soad. And then I found his page, you know, like I was saying, and he's got a lot of really good stuff, so I highly recommend everybody go read his stories. They're real good.
I'll bet.
Yeah, they're real good. I was looking at them and I was like, this guy is a masterful writer, or woman, I don't know. This person is a masterful writer, and it just brought me so much joy. It brought me so much joy that, like I said, I couldn't even find the story, so I wrote it down in the notes app on my phone, word for word, on the TikTok video.
That's dedication.
It was. I was like, I just can't wait to read this one.
Right, and what did you tell me before we started recording?
That it was good?
No, you said, thank God he gave you permission to use it, and it wasn't a waste of my time to copy it word for word in my notes.
Yeah.
And I was like, you what? And then she tells me, well, I couldn't find it in Reddit, so I just copied it word for word from TikTok. Like, alrighty then.
Oh my gosh, it was just so good.
Again, dedication.
Yeah, it was. It was good.
Yeah, it was good.
That's my favorite TikTok Reddit story I've heard in a long time.
I like it.
I do too, and it makes me feel weird that I like it.
Well, I feel weird now that I thought it was going to be a blow-up doll.
No, Mom. This podcast is called That's Disturbing, not That's Whack. Sorry, that was my knuckle.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, you can read your story.
And now I feel bad because I'm like taking up all the time.
No, you're good.
Okay. And plus it's really hard to read aloud for this long.
I haven't even read that one yet.
Okay.
That was the one you and I found together.
You found it, and then just from the title you were like, oh, this one's for you.
Well, it was for one of us, that's for sure.
Yeah. Oh, it's pretty good. It's pretty darn good.
I'm excited to hear it.
Okay, this is from user BubbaLeeJones. Again, asked permission, was granted permission, and so giving credit to the writer here is, again, BubbaLeeJones. I just want to make sure that everyone gets a shout out. As many shout outs as I can give so people go and read the stories, especially if they have more stories, like Daphne did for that one, the last one that she just did. Okay, so this one is entitled Our Daughter's New Porcelain Doll Speaks Ancient Sumerian, but he isn't supposed to talk.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that's a title grabber, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. The porcelain doll looked harmless at first. My wife Brooke and I bought Frank at an antique doll shop in New York City for our daughter Dahlia's birthday. I love that name. It's so precious.
I do too. I always say if I have a daughter, I want to name her Dahlia so we can be Daphne and Dahlia.
Aw, that's cute. All right.
You've heard me say that before.
I have, but it's still cute. It makes me say aw, clearly. All right. So the brown-haired, blue-eyed boy would make the perfect addition to her porcelain doll collection. We wrapped him in a big box with a blue ribbon, excited to see her face. Oh, he's beautiful, Dahlia shrieked as she opened her gift. I love him. It was a fun day, but our enjoyment was short-lived. Events took a darker turn before long. A few nights later, I woke up late to children stomping and giggling. It sounded like someone was having a party, but Dahlia was our only daughter. Something didn't feel right. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Right? Concerned, I hurried down the hall to check on Dahlia, but she was sitting at her vanity, serenading Frank and brushing his hair. Honey, why are you up so late? We're playing beauty parlor, Daddy. She beamed, enjoying herself and her new friend. I hated to be a killjoy dad who ruined her fun. Okay, I'll let you stay up. Just this once, but don't tell your mother. Okay, thank you. Good night, Pumpkin. But when I went downstairs to cook breakfast the next morning, a surprise guest greeted me in the kitchen. Frank sat defiantly at the head of the table, in my seat.
Ooh.
Right? With a plate and fork placed before him. He even had a napkin tucked into his shirt like a bib.
Ew.
Right? Hello. A little presumptuous there.
Right? What a doll.
Right?
Literally.
Literally. Who does he think he is? I thought, figuring Dahlia put him there. But when I glanced under her door, the room was dark, and Brooke was also asleep. I moved Frank onto the couch. Nice try, buddy. Then I returned to the stove and scooped the batter into the skillet. But Frank was back in my chair when I turned around.
Eesh.
Right?
I don't know what sound that was, but eesh.
Well, that's the sound you would make when a porcelain doll goes from the couch to your chair.
Right.
And you didn't do it.
Yeah.
He looked so entitled, like he was waiting to be served. Dahlia? Brooke? Anybody up? Silence. I checked upstairs, but they were both asleep. An uneasy feeling rushed over me as I returned Frank to the sofa and finished making the pancakes. Moments later, I turned back around to see Frank again. Even the napkin I'd removed was tucked back into his shirt.
What a dick.
Yeah, this doll's a douchebag.
Yeah. Yeah, this doll's a dick.
Right?
Just calling it how it is.
Yeah. I hurried upstairs to talk to Brooke. Sorry to wake you, honey, but we have a situation. Yeah, I would say that's a situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. She groaned, Not now, John. I'm sleeping. I know, but she sat up bleary-eyed. What is it? It's Frank. He was sitting at the table when I woke up, so I moved him, but he came back twice. She rubbed the sleep from her eyes and frowned. Honey, have you been drinking? No. Honey, have you been drinking?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good answer or a good response to someone
that's
telling you that.
Valid question. No, but that doll, something's just weird. Brooke called out of bed to scope out the scene, but Frank was back on the sofa when she got downstairs. I pointed at the table. He was just right there. Little bastard was wearing a bib and everything.
Yeah, he even had place settings.
Right?
Whole nine.
Brooke rolled her eyes and patted my head as though I were a child having a nightmare. I put the incident out of my mind, but these events happened more often as the weeks passed, and my anxiety grew by the day.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, mine would too.
Kind of reminds me of Robert the doll. But I guess there are a lot of haunted dolls. So this kind of pays homage to your Annabelle episode.
Right. I guess so.
Uh-huh. Some nights I woke up to a boy giggling, but no one was there when I opened my eyes. Other times, Frank popped up in odd places, appearing in the kitchen or the bathroom, even after I'd put him in the storage room or closet.
Yeah, I'd say put him away.
Yeah, I would say something, burn him. But anyway.
Salt.
Salt. There you go. It also didn't help that Dahlia brought Frank everywhere. This was her new best pal. But while Brooke and I were thrilled Dahlia loved her gift, I'll admit Frank creeped me out. Honey, you don't want Frank to break, Brooke told her one day. Porcelain dolls are fragile. Dahlia shook her head. But Frank is special, Mommy. He even talks.
Yeah.
No, honey. Porcelain dolls don't. But he does, Dahlia shouted. Later, Dahlia showed us Frank's secret talent. She stood him on the kitchen table and spoke to him. All you have to do is start talking and he talks back. Brooke and I exchanged amused glances, but we played along. How are you, Frank? Kids are so cute, I thought, expecting nothing to happen. But just as the thought entered my mind, Frank's left foot twitched and his green pant cuff swayed. Then a raspy voice arose from deep in his throat. Hello, Dahlia. Dahlia. It sounded like E.T., but less German.
Ew.
Right? My eyes bulged with horror, but Dahlia's face lit up, delighted. See, I told you. But when Frank spoke again, he chatted in an unknown language. It sounded like nothing we'd heard before. Our eyes almost popped out from our sockets as the doll launched into a spine-chilling monologue, blabbering for minutes uninterrupted. I searched the doll from head to toe, looking for a button that made him talk. Surely there was something, but nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
I don't like this.
I don't like it at all. At all. But it's a great story. That's why I want to read it.
No, it's absolutely. It's a great story. I don't mean I don't like the story.
Right.
But I don't like it.
No. So later that night, I combed the internet for answers, determined to solve the mystery. I Googled everything I can imagine. Talking porcelain dolls, creepy dolls, language experts. The last search yielded several results, but Dr. Rudolph's bio caught my eye. According to his website, he was a local university professor specializing in sorry.
Where are you?
Philology?
Philology? Yeah.
Yes, okay. So philology. Ancient languages and paranormal studies. This is our guy, I thought. If he can't help us, nobody can. Sorry, just never heard the word philology, and apparently I didn't trip over it when I was reading it to myself, but reading out loud made me trip over it.
That's okay.
Okay.
It'll be a good dramatic pause in there.
Dramatic pause. Pause for effect. I emailed him right away and marked the message urgent. He responded within an hour. Come by tomorrow morning and bring Frank. Brooke and I couldn't get there fast enough. The next morning, we wrapped Frank in a giant Ziploc bag and sealed him up like evidence from a crime scene.
That's funny.
I love that. We arrived at Dr. Rudolph's office before lunchtime. He was a short, jolly-looking fellow with ruby cheeks and wire-rimmed glasses. Awards, diplomas, and maps of ancient Mesopotamia.
Mesopotamia.
Yeah, and that too, hung on his walls. Dr. Randolph invited us to sit. So tell me about this mysterious addition to your family. He twirled his pen, raptly listening as we explained. Afterward, Dr. Randolph motioned toward Frank. Okay, it's bedtime, clearly. Let's have a look. That's not what he said. That's me. That was Gail.
I understood that.
Okay, well, people might not understand that. Okay, afterward, Dr. Randolph motioned toward Frank. Let's have a look, shall we? Brooke handed him the Ziploc bag. He stood Frank on the desk, studying him. I could fill a library with stories involving haunted dolls. Dolls are some of the most common items associated with paranormal activity because of their likeness to humans. Do you think it's a poltergeist? I asked. He shrugged. Could be. It's hard to say. He pointed to Frank. But I'd like to chat with him if I may. I nodded. All you have to do is start talking and he'll talk your ear off. Very well. And do you mind if I record this? Please, go ahead, Brooke said. Then Dr. Randolph began. Good morning, Frank. I'm Dr. Richard Randolph. How are you? Silence. Then Frank's left foot twitched, and the raspy voice from the previous night returned. Hello, doctor. I shuddered.
Ugh.
Tell me about yourself, and feel free to use your native tongue if you wish. Then Frank really got rolling. After that, Frank jabbered nonstop for minutes without taking a breath. Dr. Randolph listened, but his amusement soon turned to concern. He scribbled something on a notepad. What's going on? I whispered. After Frank finished, Dr. Randolph turned to us, his eyes serious. I'm uneasy with what I'm hearing. What is it? Brooke asked. I'd have to translate the recording to give you the full content, but I understood enough to help you. What did he say? Brooke asked. Dr. Randolph's eyes widened like $50, and he said, I can't believe it, but the doll is speaking ancient Sumerian, a language from Mesopotamia. Not Mesopotamia, but Mesopotamia. Not just that, but whatever is inhabiting.
Either way.
Well, no, but it's definitely not inhibiting him.
No, I know, I understand, but either way.
Right? Inhabiting this doll isn't very nice. And frankly, I don't care for the way he talks about you, John. What did he say about me? He said you grabbed him and threw him on the couch, and now he wants, these are Frank's words, teach that asshole a lesson. Dr. Randolph shook his head. dick, I thought. Dr. Randolph continued. The doll must have quite a history, though. How does the doll become haunted? Brooke asked. Sometimes dolls absorb energy from their environments, but other dolls inhabited by low-level entities, which aren't always so nice. Dr. Randolph returned Frank to the Ziploc bag, then continued. You two have a paranormal emergency on your hands, and removing the doll from your home is vital. I would also like to send Frank to a lab for testing if you don't mind. Please go ahead, I said, eager to get rid of the foul-mouthed creature. Very well. You two go home, relax, and I'll be in touch. We thanked him and left. Dahlia sulked when we told her Frank wasn't coming home, but she understood we had our reasons. Days later...
What a good kid.
Right. Well, she understood mommies and daddies have their reasons, Daphne.
What a good kid, though.
Not anything you would ever... No, just kidding.
Thanks.
No, you're a great kid, and you understood when we had to do things that seemed not fair. Anyway, days later, Dr. Randolph called us with an update. Turns out, the entity inhabiting Frank was far older than we knew. Dr. Randolph filled us in. The paranormal specialists believe the spirit inhabiting Frank comes from an ancient Mesopotamian man. He's more than 2,000 years old.
Oh, Jesus.
Right?
That's old.
That is old as fuck.
That's older than Jesus.
That's old.
Or no, it's not.
It
2000,
isn't,
no.
but it's very old.
Well, I guess it depends when the time that this could have taken place at. Because if this was 1995, then that is older than Jesus.
Yes, but we don't know.
But we don't know.
Anyway, Brooke and I thanked Dr. Randolph. Oh, wait, I skipped a whole part because we started talking. Okay, Brooke and I exchanged looks. Dr. Randolph continued. Apparently, when the man was alive, he slaughtered his fellow villagers, including innocent families, in their sleep. He was even put to death for his misdeeds. So rest assured you did the right thing by getting rid of the doll. Brooke and I thanked Dr. Randolph for his help and sighed with relief. Finally, we're free at last. After I hung up, I headed to the living room, eager to relax and watch a movie. But when I rounded the corner, a surprise greeted me. Frank sat in my recliner, gazing up at me, his eyes twinkling in the dark.
Of course he did.
The end.
What a dick.
Yeah. Well, that's trippy, though. I got chills
I
because
did
that
too.
doll is
However-
back in the house after it was in
However,
the
of
Ziploc.
course he is. Because he's fucking with them.
Ugh.
So of course he is. Or he's fucking with John.
Yeah.
So of course he's back there. Like, why wouldn't he be?
Ugh.
He's a dick. He's
Right.
a pest.
Yeah. I guess you foresaw that ending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's back there, of course. I've seen Annabelle.
Yeah, or Robert the doll.
Yeah, heard all the stories.
Exactly.
Not all of them, but you know what I mean. They usually have a pretty common ending of the doll's still there, even though the doll got removed. Nope, the doll's still there.
Right, and the doll came back, and the doll came back
that
again.
all sounds like a dick, though. Like, Annabelle's demonic. That guy's a dick.
Well, sounds like he's a dick. You're
Yeah,
right.
it sounds like he's just a dick.
Right, exactly. So what do you think of our Reddit episode, Daph?
I like it.
Okay.
What do you think?
I think it's good.
I think if we can get consistent, no, I like this. I think that this is good filler and good entertainment.
Yeah, exactly. Because working on cases, especially since we're brand new at it, is a lot of work and really time consuming. And Daphne's in finals, and we got a new puppy that prevents sleep. And we won't do a ton of these, especially like not all clustered together. But I do think it's fun filler, and I also think that it's a good break for us.
Yeah.
Although I'm
absolutely.
working on 2 cases right now.
I'm working on finals.
Okay, good job. All right, well,
Thanks.
thank you guys for listening.
Take care.
Appreciate it, and I hope you're enjoying what you're hearing.
Yeah, be safe. Yeah, no, now I'm just resonating on that last story and thinking, fuck that. That's also a dick.
Right?
Just
Okay.
fuck that.
Anyway, we were saying goodbye, so we're going to say goodbye
Bye.
again.
Take care. Be safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you.